I have so many good stories from outreach the last couple of days that I'm going to cut some amazing stories short so that you can hear more of some really amazing stories. I went yesterday to one of the worst areas of North Minneapolis, and two of my teammates were on the worst block in the worst area of Minneapolis. And they approached this house bustling with people that you probably wouldn't normally want to go up and talk to. But their conversations there were really amazing. There was one guy who kind of waved him over. He's like, "Hey, come here." And they went off to the side, and he said to them, "I need prayer. Could you pray for me?" And they prayed for him and asked, "What's keeping you from giving your life to the Lord?" And he said, "I want to do that, but it's all this stuff of being out here on the streets." And so he's super open. There was another guy who actually asked us for a Bible. We prayed for him too. And so this place that you would normally think, ooh, don't even go there. And God has people there who are open and wanting him. We talked to another guy who was so angry when we brought up how he was doing with God. And he wasn't angry at us. He was actually angry at his background. Like he was like gritting his teeth and stuff and just really uncomfortable. And understandably so when he shared his stories with us. But he was so thankful for the conversation that we had, that we actually exchanged numbers. And then he called me that night. We talked for over an hour on the phone, and he was really thankful. He said this is exactly what he needs. But that's not even the main thing I wanted to talk about. There was a guy we saw, we had this table set up and some water and Bibles and stuff out, and he skated by on this skateboard. And as he's going by, I hold out a water to him. I'm like, "Hey, you want one of these?" And he's like, "Sure." So he grabs it on his way by, and he gets to the end of the block, and I said, "Hey, do you want some prayer too?" And he said, "Sure." He stops dead in his tracks. He comes back, and I started praying for him. And as I'm doing so, I'm just getting a sense of how open he is, just ridiculously open to the Lord. So partway through, I said, "Hey, could we have you do something here? I want you to just hold out your hands, and I want you to repeat after me, but only say the things that you agree with. If you don't agree with something, it's okay. You don't have to say it." And I actually led him in a prayer to receive Christ and was making sure he understood what he was praying, but he was 100% with me the whole way. We get done, my teammate steps in, he leads him in praying to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And as he's doing that, I'm watching his eyes are kind of like his eyelids are sort of twitching. And by the end of the conversation, he's talking about how he feels just all this energy throughout his body. He's visibly full of joy. My teammate told me I should take a picture of his gigantic smile that he had at that point. But right after that, my teammate, one of the other ones, said, "Hey, I see that cigarette there. When do you want to give up smoking?" And he said, I want to give smoking up, but I just feel like I can't." And so she walks him through. She's talking about how you got to trust in the Lord to do that. It's got to be his strength and not your own. And pretty soon, this guy just takes his cigarette, throws it on the ground, stomps on it, and he's like, "You know what? I'm done smoking." And he's just like delivered from smoking right then and there. After that, he exchanges phone numbers with one of my other teammates, and they want to get in touch. He comes back to the table. He's like, "You know what? I didn't get a Bible." So we gave him a Bible. He makes like 3 false starts at leaving and wants to keep talking with us. So he leaves finally, and we're just so over the moon. Well, a couple of my teammates had gone out to the neighborhood before that and were praying and things like that, and only 2 of us were left at the table. So the 2 of us who were there started praying, "Let this guy be surrounded by Christians. God, bring a whole group of Christians to be around this guy." In the midst of praying for him, he starts coming back again, and we talk, and he's like, "You know, I haven't been to church for a number of years. Could you give me information on a church?" Yeah, so I did. I gave him, there's one literally 2 blocks away where I know the pastor personally, gave him his phone number. While we're doing that, the 2 who had been around in the neighborhood come back, and it turns out they ran into this guy too. And so God was answering our prayers for him that he'd be surrounded with Christians, because he led him to the two other guys on our team, and he comes back wanting a church. So it's like this guy got the full treatment. God wasn't done. We were getting ready to pack up, and my two teammates spotted this woman right across the street, and they went over to talk to her, and they sat down next to her. One of the ladies in her group said, "You know, I can tell you've been abused." And this woman was just like, "What? How did you know that?" And our teammate said, "Well, it's happened to me too, and I can just see it all over you. I think God was just highlighting that." And she had her attention at that point. So the woman on our team said, "You've been told all sorts of things about who you are that are not true. And what you need is you need to take a hold of the truth that God says about who you are." And right off of that, she just launches into sharing the gospel with her. This woman gives her life to Christ. And of course, she's like crying this whole time, just bursting into tears. If you find this stuff encouraging, especially in light of all the craziness in this world, the crazy news and everything going on in our city, please like and subscribe and share this stuff with other people. If you know someone who needs to hear about the good things that God is doing, spread the word, because he is doing this stuff, and it's an encouragement to all of us when we get to hear about it.